If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to Downfall Network for more cool content. What's up, everyone? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you. So yet another one that came out on the 20th of November this year.
You gotta stop.
Oh.
You gotta... Metal community, thank you for releasing all these albums, but stop doing it all on the same day.
Oh my god. A lot of good albums. A lot of back-loaded, like, solid albums.
Yeah.
But again, another one that was released was the newest one from Tombs, Under Sullen Skies. This comes out on Season of Mist Records. This band formed in 2007 in Brooklyn, New York, but listening to them, you would think they were from the coldest reaches of Norway.
I was gonna say, you're right.
Maybe Poland.
In an igloo somewhere.
It's very cold, it's very dark, and it's very depressing wherever they're from. This is their 5th full length, and we actually covered them earlier this year. We reviewed their EP, Monarchy of Shadows, and that was also awesome. I had no idea it was leading into a full length also this year. So
that was also awesome.
Very, very busy. This band is pretty much helmed by their frontman guitarist slash bassist slash synth player slash primary writer.
Yeah, a bunch of things, yeah.
Mike Hill. And he is the lone original member. The rest of the band pretty much came in 2018, at least this lineup has. And this is such an interesting mix of a lot of things, and they're all extreme and they're all kind of depressing. Black metal, death metal, post metal, sludge,
doom,
funeral doom.
Yeah, dude.
This is all of the heaviest, most depressing music kind of mixed into like one homogenized thing.
These are all the things I like about death metal and metal in general, just in one place.
It's a
cornucopia
big box.
of it's a cornucopia of gross.
Right away, without any pretense, the opener Bone Furnace comes in pretty much thundering, and right away I picked up on like a mix of Dark Throne and Celtic Frost. And this is pretty much like the era of Dark Throne that we're currently listening to, the newest era where it's very riff-centric, but doomy and ugly. Not the most technical riffs, but powerful ones. Simple, yet elegant, and this song just rides them out. Vocals are very dramatic. They're kind of delivered in that same sort of demeanor as Tom Gabriel from Celtic Frost. Occasionally, he kind of belts out these weird, like, gothic croons.
Yeah.
Like Bauhaus, Pete Murphy, but then goes back to this very, very reverb-drenched roar. And right away, you're already getting a good balance of atmosphere and riffs. And I have to say, a thing that we notice on this album is almost every single track in here is very, very different.
Yes. Like I remember on Bone Furnace when after we'd made it most of the way through the song, and I turned to Nick and said, I can't really hear the bass. Don't worry about it. It comes in other songs. Everything comes in other songs. They have this whole wheelhouse of modes that they use, but they use them all so well together. Nothing sounded pretentious or experimental to the point of where it sucked.
I think everything that was experimented with might be stuff they have done before, but not to this level. Like, generally when I have listened to Tombs albums, they labor atmosphere, like lots of droning tremolos, like very blackened tremolos, blast beats, but you get these pocket moments where they do something a little bit different, like a groovy breakdown, something that's a little bit more death metal oriented.
Yep.
This one, the songs really take interesting turns. Void Constellation opens up with kind of a hardcore slash metalcore breakdown, like a syncopated chug.
Yep.
And then when you're still kind of scratching your head over that one, it's like, wow, that's vastly different from what I just listened to. It breaks into like a sludge metal, blackened sludge metal riff with a giant bend in it. Like Church Burn or Blackened Crowbar. So picture Kirk with corpse paint, which is, it probably works well with the beard.
And then the lead in this song is done by Andy Thomas, a Black Crown Initiate, who played with Tombs. Actually, we saw him play with Tombs when they opened for Crowbar.
Yeah. So, I mean, this whole thing kind of works together pretty well.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. Like the lead on it is very atmospheric, but like behind that, the music is just sludgy and ugly. Now they do kind of return to that more like droning atmospheric black metal, black and death metal, black and post metal, black and whatever it is. Baron, Angel of Darkness, pretty much labor just blast beats, droning tremolo melodies that are really wonderfully blended. Baron's the big standout for me, mainly because I think the melodies just scream dissection. And this one's kind of like a throwback to stuff they were doing on Savage Gold, which was definitely a favorite of mine as far as Tomb's releases. But this one has an absolutely soaring, epic lead. Like it's decidedly like tonally different. It feels like this big, epic, almost kind of thrash lead. And then I was shocked to see who did it. Granted, I know this guy's a really solid guitarist because he used to play in Cannabis Corpse, Ray Suhi. But the thing that we most recently reviewed with him on it was 6 Feet Under, and I mean, I don't know if he played a lot of solos on that, but that album was a turd. And that's all we're going to say about that, because I think we've talked about that album enough. It's dumb. But this also has an incredible, like, almost kind of gothic, doomy bridge. Like, there's a lead in with a marching snare.
Yeah, dude, that marching snare, that's on point.
Oh my god.
That I don't think they could have made that part as bleak as it was without that marching snare. It's nasty.
And it sets up the next moment, which is giant, epic, but gloomy harmonies. Absolutely gorgeous. Like, very much in the realm of, like, Paradise Lost or My Dying Bride. This album is amazing at capturing the mood on here. Angel of Darkness, also really good at that too. Though I think that one kind of drones on a little bit longer, but I kind of like the fact you're going to get lost in the mood of the album. Yep. Which, it's all depressing. Yep. All the time.
Well, nothing is as dark and as doomy and as depressing as the song Secrets of the Black Sun, which it just, I swear to you, they are playing the beginning of this song in a cold tomb.
Or the surface of the moon.
Yep, like I mean, this is, you can just hear somebody slicing their wrist and blood just...
It's such a bleak opening. It's neurosis at their most depressing.
Yeah.
Which, all right, that's a fair amount of neurosis. But I love how this song keeps building in, I don't think intensity is the right word, but in terms of like the mood, like it gets heavier and more oppressive. You know, the drums get louder. There's like a little bit of like a slow tribal build, and then it just turns into this massive funeral doom song. And one of the cool things about this atmosphere too is you get these really wispy but haunting female vocals in the background, as well as Mike Hill's sort of like, you know, hungover David Bowie kind of yelling at the,
that's perfect.
Yeah, yelling into the darkness because it's dark. That whole song is dark. It's the longest track on there. It's one of the most different ones on here too, because it doesn't break into blast. It barely breaks up into like a more up-tempo rhythm. It just stays slow and sullen, and you feel it. You feel.
Yeah,
the
I really
song.
felt like it. Just, I was like, man, I'm depressed.
I was happy earlier. I'm gonna chew a hole in my wrist.
So then after you get that creepy, crawly, bleak darkness, the track We Move Like Phantoms, it's this little less than 2-minute instrumental jam, but it is heavier than a giant bag of elephant shit. Like, it is heavy as shit.
It's less gross, though.
Big, huge, nasty, open squeals and tones and just...
There's like some like dissonant keys in the background.
Yep.
And there's a lot of synths on here, but they're kind of pockmarked in areas where like you really wouldn't expect them, because this album's still all about the heavy.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought that was a really good lead in to the next track, Mortem, which is pretty much a straight up kind of groovy death metal song.
Yep.
There's a whole lead section on there that just screams like, yeah, this is like the breakdown on a Suffocation song, and this is Terrence Hobbs.
Palm muted chugs. The only thing I thought didn't transition well was the verse. That really kind of abruptly comes in there, and it's just kind of like this bouncy thing that doesn't fit the rest of the song.
It's like a little bit like up-tempo and thrashy, but most of the song kind of labors that kind of like hardcore groove. Mm-hmm. And it kind of works as a really good blend, and then you get to Lex Talianis, and this is behemoth.
Ooh.
invader
and ulcerate.
It's heavier and held, dissonant. There's lots of cool dissonant strums. There's a lot of stuff that reminds me of like Behemoth circa Evangelion, or Evangelion, however you say that. It has that distinct feel to it, but it has that thrashy energy, like that opening turnover and just into these amazing blast beats. It really just kind of sets the pace of that song. And again, this is just kind of an interesting journey of an album. Like, it moves in an interesting kind of unpredictable way, and I like that. Like, I like the fact that all these songs were very different. There's only a couple I'd say that were really similar. And then it would just shift on to like the next thing, like this whole death metal section, a giant post-metal / doom metal song. It was absolutely insane to listen to.
Another interesting guest on here, as in terms of atmosphere, because they brought in female vocals a couple of times, but in the beginning of Angel of Darkness, it really stands out. There's a lady doing spoken word in the beginning of this song.
Droning synths.
Yep, and it turns out it's a celebrity witch and actress named Kat Cabral, which I've never heard of, but she's a celebrity witch, so what better way to convey this creepy...
It's a cool setup.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, I actually wrote down here, feels like I'm watching exposition at the beginning of a horror or sci-fi flick. Because she has like all these droning synths behind her, and it really just sets the mood before it just explodes into pretty much straight up black metal.
Somber Ruin, I mean, that again sounds like Neurosis and just super creepy and evil and bleak.
That was one of the songs I didn't get into just because it was pretty much just wall-to-wall noise and dissonance. Now, granted, there is a melody there, and it pretty much sounds like if Pink Floyd were huge on both acid and Satan.
Right.
But there's also some like weird atmospheric noises in there. It really sounds like someone's kicking the shit out of a humpback whale, like really working him over too. It's pretty bad. But I didn't get into that one just because it just kind of screamed a noise track. Now, granted, it's another cool, different track on here.
I think it's something to add to the overall feel of this record. Just
the wheelhouse kept getting bigger.
Yeah.
The closer, Plague Years, is definitely one of my favorites too, and it pretty much embodies a lot of what was all on this album, kind of in one song here. You get this really cool, like, creepy acoustic intro, and it goes right back into the atmospheric black metal.
Yep.
But then it takes like kind of an interesting shift to like Immortal style of like thrashy black metal, like kind of around like Sons of Northern Darkness, like super pronounced, chuggy, thrashy riff.
Yep.
But the coolest thing on here is the outro, or at least towards the end it shifts over.
The last minute or so is all of the band fading away. The guitars, little by little, you can hear the volume start to go down and they start to drown out. The bass is a little bit more prominent and then it starts to drown out. And then the very last thing is just this
big reverby snare.
Yeah, dude,
it sounds like, they just kind of fading out into the void, and like, they played this entire album on the edge of a fucking collapsed star and just like, we're dead. It's cold and dark here. This is pretty much the album.
Yep.
But yeah, it really closes out as appropriately as it could. And I mean, Plague Years, this is one of them.
Yeah, no shit. This is certainly a plagued year. In a collection of all the plagued years in history, this is up there.
This is pretty much a COVID album because it embodies, I think, every emotion you go through. Like, you're pissed about it, you're sad, you're depressed, you're alone.
You just want to go to shows.
So much. But it really kind of embodies that. It is a very emotional and dark listen, but it's really rewarding. It's a little bloated, I think. It's over an hour. But they could have trimmed spots here and there, but overall, like, the overall composition is excellent.
Yeah, overall, I don't have any complaints.
I really think they dug deep on this one. So overall, I'm giving this 4.5 stars. I got lost in this album, but in a good way. Like, I didn't ever lose, like, the sense of the album. Like, I really felt the album in terms of, like, all the stuff it was going through. I like the fact that they expanded on their sound quite a bit, and I was legit surprised by a lot of the stuff I heard on here. This was an amazing, cathartic listen. and I'm definitely going to be listening to it again. And once again, this year became more difficult because now,
now I have
this
another,
is also in contention.
You're right. Now I have another album to put on this godforsaken end-of-year list.
I know.
With that in mind, I'm also going to give this 4.5 stars. I had such a good time jamming this. Again, these are all the things I really like about this genre of music. I really like when a band plays into, you know, just how bleak can we make this sound? Just, how depressing can we make this?
Mission accomplished.
Can we make this sound like suicide? Because I think that's it. Yeah, dude. Such a fun listen, and every song was unique. Once again, any gripes I have are really minor. I think even the bloat was kind of important in the sense that it just really added to the fullness of all that this record is. I've seen these guys, I've jammed these guys, and this was another shocker. I just thought, like, man, they really took what they had and ran with it. I want to jam it again. I'm going to jam it too. Since we're under lockdown and curfew now and I can't actually go home without getting arrested. Right. So now I have to sleep here. So I'll probably listen to this record again.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We will catch you later.